I got off to a misleading start because I entered a poker tournament, and the first poker tournament I won first place. And so I was like, oh, this is so easy, and this is, more than I make in like 2 weeks and blah, 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 blah. And like,
That's how they get you.
so that's how they get you, right?
Welcome to episode 10 of All In with Colin. I am your host, Colin Capone. Thank you for being here. Today, I have a great chat with author and poker player Amanda Botfeld about her journey from writing about elections in Washington to getting her book, A Girl's Guide to Poker, published. We'll find out about how she fell in love with the game and also fell in love while playing the game. I'll also give you my tournament of the week. That's a high-value tournament I think we should all be playing. Spoiler, this week's is super affordable, so nobody has an excuse not to play it. But first, I want to give some shout-outs to people who've had some recent success. Shout out to my man Flow Junkie. He played a $225 live WSOP step satellite at Playground Poker in Montreal. He was trying to win an $1,800 step ticket. He ended up bubbling, but still got $1,000, so still a definite win in my books. Also, he's got a birthday this week, so happy birthday, Eric, aka Flow Junkie. Intimate Poker 9, love that screen name, took first place out of 961 entries in a $2.50 Bounty Hunters Turbo on GG for $259. Congrats to Baron Tipton, hit a bad beat jackpot for $5K. Congrats to Slow Roll, he won a WSOP main event package on Club GG, so he's going to be heading to Vegas in July to play the main event. That's incredible. And finally, congrats to Michael Rossi. He won a $90 satellite on ACR. He got himself a package to play the inaugural Moneymaker Tour $2,500 main event in Florida. It was on the 20th anniversary of Chris winning the 2003 main event, and Mike, following in his footsteps, won it all for $134,000. On top of that, ACR's Phil Nagy and Chris Moneymaker love the story so much, they decided to put Mike in the upcoming World Series of Poker main event and give him a $100K package to go to London to compete in the Triton High Roller Series. Wow, that is a dream come true, and it all started with a $90 satellite. Reminder, if you want a shout out, send me a message on Twitter at Poker Capone. I'm very excited to welcome my next guest to the show. She is a writer who graduated from the University of California, Santa Cruz. She went on to having her work published in many places, including the Wall Street Journal, the LA Times. She's also the author of a book, A Girl's Guide to Poker. She's a ghostwriter who will help you finally get your book done, does social media consulting for WPT Global. She's an astrology expert, and along with her father, she finished third place in the 2021 WSOP Tag Team event. I am very excited to welcome Amanda Botfeld to the show. Amanda, welcome to All In with Colin. How are you?
Thank you, Colin. Thank you so much. We've been friends in the Twitterverse, and so it's awesome to really sit down and talk. And thanks for the stellar introduction.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, you do a lot. You do a lot of stuff there. That's like in a short period of time, you've kind of done a bit. I was surprised when I was doing a bit of research. Like I've seen you, out there promoting stuff, and I knew you were a writer, but I didn't know that you were into the political writing before poker. So that was something that I came upon. So how did you get from writing about politics, which is crazy, into poker?
Yes. Yeah. Specifically, my background was in Middle Eastern foreign policy. And I was living in Washington, D.C. It was like my dream to move there. I was working 3 blocks from the White House. And this was a really, really interesting time because it was during the 2016 presidential election. The Hillary Trump election. So it was like quite the time to be in Washington, D.C. It was hard working in, especially the field of politics I was in, because there was a lot of depressing news stories. And I guess the last thing I can say on this note is before I started playing poker, I was working as a writer. I didn't know yet what I wanted it to be about, but writing a book was something that crossed my mind. And I was working as a newsletter writer. My specialty was kind of making things punchy, easy to understand, fun. Took all these boring Middle Eastern news stories and wrote cute headlines and put them into bullet points. And I discovered poker, and I was really, really bad at it. And I was like, let me learn how to play this game naively. And let me write a book called Learn Poker in 30 Minutes. Yeah, I didn't know quite as much about poker as I thought I did, but it became a research project. And within my first year of playing poker, because I wanted to learn how to play, I wanted to write the how-to book that I needed. and use my writing background and my research background, because technically my title was a research associate, writer and research associate. I reached out to 3 poker book publishers, and 2 of them wanted it, the
Wow.
concept. So signed a book deal with D&B Publishing, and they've been great to work with.
So did you actually come out with that book as well? Like How to Learn Poker in 30 Minutes? Or was this A Girl's Guide to Poker?
No, that's what A Girl's Guide to Poker morphed into.
Okay.
Basically, I kind of sent them like a shortened manuscript that was kind of like that, and then we expanded it to A Girl's Guide to Poker.
Maybe after playing in the casino for a while and you were started to realize, hey, how come I'm the only girl at the table, that you thought, hey, maybe there's something I can do to help try to get more ladies interested into the game.
Yeah, especially as I get older, that's something I become more conscious of. The funny thing is, I never set out to write a women's poker book originally. I just wanted to write a poker book in my own voice. I just kind of wanted to write it like Amanda's style, Amanda's take. And then I didn't realize that everyone's like, oh, this is for women. Which originally I just kind of wanted to write. I mean, I guess chick flicks they're supposed to be for everyone, but their audience is mostly women, but kind of like the chick flick of poker books, because that was just what was real for me. And even though it's not really a personal story, it's more of a how-to. It's just kind of learning the basics, it still is very much a time capsule of where I was at that point in my life.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I was looking at the book through like on Amazon and whatnot, and it looks like very easy to read, like something like, someone would just be chilling out and just relaxing, like they're flipping through a magazine. They're flipping through this easy to read book about poker. And yeah, that's good if you want some people who haven't been, there's so many girls that have never played poker, right? And if they can find a way to get into it, maybe they're going to love it, just like the way you did.
On the flipping through a magazine, something that really struck me in the For Dummies series, Learn Poker for Dummies,
Sure.
Computer Coding for Dummies. I was reading some of those books, and one of them said, you don't have to read this book in order. It's like you can open it at any point, and that's what I wanted my book to be like. You don't have to read it like a novel from start to finish. It's like maybe the chapters are super duper short. I say even mini chapters is more accurate. And I wanted it to be like you can pop in at any point, in and out, wherever you're at in your poker journey.
Oh, that's awesome. So speaking of where you're at in your poker journey, and then you ended up finding love in poker, like you married a poker player, David, right? So he's from Ireland. He's Irish from Ireland?
Absolutely, yes.
So how did that go down? Where did you meet David?
Oh, it was actually super cute. So he was on a vacation playing poker in Los Angeles, where I'm from. After the whole DC and politics, I moved back to Los Angeles. And I met him at a poker table, and I just did not take it seriously. He's from Ireland. He's having all the beers with the guys, and he's clearly a professional poker player. It was obvious. And, he asked me out on a date, and I said, no. Like, you're a poker player, do your thing, play your game. And first of all, he had a really good line. He said, there are more important things in life than poker.
Very nice.
Which I think anyone in their first year of poker, that can be like a revelation. Like your first year of poker, you were like in it, right? And so to kind of be prioritized that way meant a lot to me. But I was still on the fence. And 3 weeks later, it was my first time in Vegas since getting in this world. And it was his first time in Vegas, being from Ireland. And of all the card rooms and casinos in Vegas, I walked in and there he was.
Wow. So you just actually ran into him there?
Just completely ran into him. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Like literally, I feel like it was God saying you missed something. Yeah. That will be 5 years ago this summer. And now, we're married and we've, had all of our travels around the world. Maybe we'll get into that. But, yeah, I thought it was pretty amazing.
Yeah. That sounds like a storybook. Wow. Cool. So you guys do travel around and play poker. So he grinds professionally. So you're in different places depending on visa. So right now you're in my neck of the woods. You're in Alberta. You're in Calgary. How long have you been in Calgary? Yes. And how are you liking it?
We got here late January.
Okay.
We're only allowed until July, unfortunately, because we've traveled so many places. In the last 2 years, we've done Niagara Falls, Cabo San Lucas, Mexico, Ireland, London, Greece, Calgary, and I gotta say, this is one of the top of the list. If for any reason we don't end up settling in the States, we're like, it's got to be Calgary. Like, we've been so struck by so many things here that we just never expected.
Yeah, it's a beautiful city and a nice part of Alberta for sure. So I'm going to test you. I didn't tell you I was going to do this, so I have a little short Alberta trivia. Let's see how much you learned so far. Okay, it's pretty easy. Only a few questions.
Okay.
Let's see what you picked up. This one's first one. I know you know half of it. So, what are the 2 NHL teams in Alberta?
The 2 NHL teams in Alberta. We went to the hockey game.
You did. I saw that on Twitter.
Yeah, I went to a lacrosse game with the Roughnecks, but when we went, that's probably not like the national team though, right? Or not. That's probably not the regional team.
Yeah, that's a wrong sport. So this is hockey. You went to an NHL game.
Oilers is Edmonton.
Yes, that's right.
Why am I'm so...
And the Calgary...
We went to the Flames game. The Calgary Flames. Yeah. Yeah, we went to the Flames game. I was like on the spot, nervous. Yeah, Flames.
On the spot. Okay, you got it. You pulled it off. Nice one. Oilers and Flames. That's a huge rivalry. I don't know if you picked up on that yet. Being there.
A little bit. I have a little bit.
If you would have been here last year, we actually both made the playoffs and met in the second round, so it was crazy. So
no way.
Too bad this year. Okay, so what's the capital city of Alberta?
Capital city of Alberta. It's not Edmonton?
It's Edmonton. That's right. I thought a lot of people think it's Calgary. A lot of people say Calgary and think it's Calgary, but it is actually where I'm from, Edmonton. All right, this one might be a little tougher for you. What band was formed in Hanna, Alberta, and had a song reach #1 in both Canada and the USA in 2002? It was a big song.
This I don't know.
You've heard this song before.
I know the song.
Yeah. It's also for some reason, this band is also very hated or made fun of a lot too. It's a rock band.
It's a rock band?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to get my husband to take me to the Blink 182 concert here this month, but I don't think it's them.
All right. It was Nickelback. You've heard of Nickelback, right?
I like Nickelback.
You like Nickelback?
Ew.
Yeah. I don't know why a lot of people don't like Nickelback, but it was. Yeah. They're actually created in Hanna, Alberta, small town. All right.
No way.
This is another tough one. What is the provincial flower of Alberta?
Oh,
it actually says it on the license plates. Everyone's license plate, it'll say it's the wild rose. So if you look around, there's the wild rose. Okay, and this is a multiple choice. This one will be a bit easier for you. Which of these will you not find in Alberta? Skunks, pigeons, rats, or raccoons?
I've heard stories about skunks. I think I've seen some pigeons, but I could be wrong. Yeah. So I think are there no rats? There's
no rats. Alberta is a rat-free province. So yeah, you won't find a rat. I've never seen a rat actually in my life.
That's awesome.
Okay, then the last one.
See, there's so much going for it.
I know. How many national parks are in Alberta? You must have done some touring around, I hope. You've seen some of the parks. Banff, Jasper. How many national parks are in Alberta? 2, 3, 4, or 5?
I thought the whole thing is a national park.
Yeah. All right, it's 5. There's 5 national parks to check out while you're in Alberta. So before they kick you out and customs comes and grabs you guys, make sure you hit out the parks. Have you checked out Banff or Jasper?
We plan on doing it to finish off our trip.
Awesome. Yeah, beautiful area. And then it's before summer, it's the dream. So yeah, definitely do that. There's some beautiful spots. Awesome. All right. So sorry to put you on the spot like that, but that was pretty fun.
That's cool.
All right. So now you're doing some work with WPT Global. So they came onto the scene, about less than a year ago, it feels like, right? So it hasn't been too long, but they're really been promoting the site. They're teamed up with WPT. So there's a lot of live events people are saddling to. You gave up personally a lot of main event packages to WPT in the win in Vegas in December. So you were streaming, but the rule was if you won a package, you had to give it away. And how many did you end up giving away?
Gave away 8 packages.
8 packages. And these packages include a 10K seat and hotel or money towards hotel and whatnot as well. So this was a crazy giveaway. That's unbelievable. 8 packages you won and gave them away. Wow.
Yeah. And, for anyone that's following it, I really tried to be creative with these giveaways, and then we'll talk about that. But something I also wanted to do is I really wanted this to be an opportunity for the average Joe and the average Janes. And what I found was in my first contest, I didn't have a Hendon Mob cap. And I found myself being biased against people with big Hendon, with over 100K on their Hendon Mob.
Sure.
And so for the future ones, I just started lowering it and lowering it. I was 30K Hendon Mob, and then I was 25K or lower Hendon Mob. And also I thought that was good, of course, to promote the event for WPT because, all these pros, they're seeing that, hey, it's not going to be totally a field of grinders.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so did you get to meet a lot of people that you did give packages to or that won them? Did you get to meet them there? That must have been pretty fun seeing them.
Oh, yeah, I got to meet them at the event. We actually made these like patches for like the people that I sent, Team Botfeld patches, which was amazing, which was
Oh,
so
cool.
cute. And yeah, and what's even better and more surprising is like we have like this group chat and we're still in touch and we're still active. And I feel like we've really, in a strange way, kind of built a small community.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's funny how that works out. So years ago, I entered a PokerStars contest. It was a video contest. This is like 10 years ago, I think. And I didn't win, but I made like weekly finals and stuff. I got in there, but there was another guy that was in there, a Seafore's the Poker 2S, a Seafo he goes by. But and he made the finals and then he didn't win either. But later on, after every time I was playing on PokerStars and I would be playing satellites and I would see his name there, a Seafo. I remember his screen name. And the contest was we had to make tips. They had signed Rafael Nadal at the time, and we had to make a tip on how to help Rafa at the poker table. So we were doing tips. So I'd always write in chat like, "What's up, Rafa?" and he would respond, right? So like, and then this is like I'm talking like for months, like a year later. Then somehow we got each other on like instant messenger and WhatsApp. Now I talk to the dude probably every single day. And like I talked to him right before. So right now he's in Switzerland. He won a satellite from the Hendon Mob, and he's playing a tournament right now. Cool. I just messaged him, and I was like, "Are you still up?" And he's like, "Man, I'm still at the casino. It's like 2 a.m. there. He's still playing this thing, and so he's going to phone me afterwards." So it's crazy how that works. How you meet somebody from a contest. So I didn't win the contest. He didn't win, but we're still friends years later. It's pretty cool.
That's so awesome. Yeah, it's in the contest that I recently won for a main event seat. The other woman, Melanie, and I, we've just been totally bonding through this.
Yeah,
and so awesome. It's really funny how it works out. Yeah, it's funny too. You mentioned the chat because the thing that comes like you're friendly in the chat and you're nice. My husband is like has a very dry sense of humor, and he was playing on a Ignition, like a Ignition Bovada website, right? And they very much censor their chat, so you can't get to know people. You can't build these relationships. Like it's only prepackaged phrases. Like you can only say like "good job" or like "thanks," right? Like you can only say these really positive things. And then my husband, whenever he'd win a big pot of someone, he would say, "Thanks."
Yeah. I really can't stand playing on sites where you can't do anything like that. Like I remember playing on Party Poker and you can chat. Like you can be, "Hey, how's it going?" Because sometimes you see the same people. So you're saying, "Hey, what's up?" But then as soon, I don't know if it's like this still on there, but as soon as you get knocked out, so like you're busted, like your chips go to the other guy, says you've been eliminated, your chat's gone. You can't even say like "good game" or "good luck, guys." Like you've been playing at this table for hours with some of these people, and they instantly take your chat away. Like, what's that? How come you can't just stick around and so you can wish people well? It's a social game, so I wish the poker sites would keep doing that, right? So it is funny.
That's a great suggestion because I know eventually it's in the works because WPT Global is a new site. It launched spring of last year. I came on in September. And, we're slowly incorporating all these different functions. I know chat's on the list. And you're right. You need to be able to say, like, "nice hand" or "screw you."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's not all positive. Yeah, sometimes you want to make a joke, like throw an emoji at somebody, right? And but the site itself is very clean. It looks good. It's easy to use. And there's a lot of... Well, right now being a new site, I mean, there's it's a lot easier than a lot of the other big name sites. So people should definitely be checking it out. So what's your actual role then with WPT Global then? What are you doing there?
Sure. So originally the World Poker Tour, which, owns WPT Global, they hired the social media agency to run their WPT Global accounts. And the people didn't know anything about poker. And like they would like tweet like #poker online. It was like very, very cringy. But when I came on, their Twitter account had 200 followers. And so WPT had the insight to say like, one, this isn't working. And two, let's get someone, basically they hired multiple people with like 2 people full-time, 3 with someone part-time. Where it's like 2 of them are like social media managers. They're really good at and really experienced, with the algorithms and what times to post and all this. And then they run everything by me to make sure that it's like pokerfied.
Nice.
and that we're not like saying things like, I was like, a PK was a bounty tournament, and like, like just all this kind of stuff where it's a partnership. So I basically proofread, edit, I come up with a lot of the concepts. It's not, it's multiple people running the WPT global accounts. I want to make that clear. Don't ask me for tickets. It is a team. But a lot of the contests that we run, or a lot of the giveaways, like the flash giveaways, I came up with those. And I think they're a lot of fun, and they also, when we need to fill an event really quickly, they're very convenient. So a lot of these contests, basically, I'm kind of the poker consultant.
Nice. I like that they're making sure everything's proofread, because one thing about poker players, if somebody makes a mistake, or they'll point it out, right? Like they're going to be all over you for that,
Yes.
right? Or if it's cringy, like you said, right?
There was a recent post. So we got our graphic design team. Their graphic design team is amazing, but again, they're graphic designers. They're not poker players. And so we still posted it because it was like a really, nice graphic. But like, basically, they were like, what hand would you rather have? And one player has like the nuts, like flop the straight, and the other person has like a flush draw.
Oh, man.
And the people are commenting. They're like, is this a joke?
I know. So I listened to the Poker in the Ears podcast with Joe Stapleton, and he's big into the movies and whatnot. So he's been hired like as a poker consultant for movies when they're have poker, right? But so it really bugs him when so they've not hired him before, but like, and the director was doing something with poker, and or Joe will say his advice, like, no, you can't do this because poker players are going to see this and know this is not how it works, right? Like, so it is very important to when movies and TV shows or even Twitter, they get the poker right. That's the basics, right? It has to be right.
Exactly. And like, to your point, the poker community is unique because it's very analytical. That's a positive word. The negative word is nitpicky. But yeah, we just really wanted to get things right. So that's my role for the World Poker Tours. I consider myself a proofreader in that sense, an editor. But I also help come up with a lot of the concepts.
Awesome. And then you still get to play.
And I still get to play, to make us laugh, make us cry, stuff like that.
So have you gotten to play much in Calgary live? Have you?
Oh, yeah. If anyone from this podcast is listening, that's played at the Cowboys Casino in Calgary, I'm sure you've seen me and my husband. We play there constantly. And Calgary's great. What I like about their games is it's, LA, people have played in Los Angeles. It's very shallow stacks. Like they, kind of their premier mid stakes game where I play, is a 5-5 where you can straddle, and it's a $500 cap. So it's 5-5. It's like an action game. And then a lot of times it's 5-10 and you're playing at a 500 cap. And it's an all-in game, all the time. And they actually even have like a 3-5 where you can straddle, that's a 300 cap at multiple casinos. So at Calgary, you feel like you're, it's deeper stacked. It's like 1-3 with a 500 cap.
Yeah, I know. I don't play as much cast as I used to, but I remember it was always deep. Like you play 1-2 or 1-3, and there's really deep stacks at the tables. Like it's really deep in Alberta as compared to a lot of places.
Yeah, and kind of like when I first cut my teeth and got started in DC. So the DC game was the same as Calgary. It was 1-3 up to 500, and because of that, you just got such a variety of players. You got people buying in for $100, just want to test it out, want to try, and then you have like grinders buying in for 500. So you get and then everyone else in between. So you get a really good variety. Whereas I think in Los Angeles, because they have all these different tiers, it's a little bit more segmented, and you just don't get quite as good of a mix.
Right on. Okay. So you briefly mentioned that you won a main event seat. So I like that you gave away all those main event packages back in December, and now you won a main event package this week. You bubbled the contest, but there's an angel who decided, you know what? Let's give her in anyway, and they gave you a main event seat. So that's awesome. So maybe tell about that. So that was Nadia. Is it Nadia KGB on Twitter who ran that contest?
Yeah, Nadia KGB. Her full name's Nadia Magnus. So she's been doing all these contests to give women seats to not just tournaments, but to like high roller tournaments. Like she gave a seat to the Win 10K. This is not her first main event seat. She's given seats to like, I believe, the 3500s at the Win. She not only wants women in poker, but she wants women in poker in the most competitive spaces. And this was my second time bubbling one of her contests. There was another time where it was like actually, no, it's my third time. There was one time where it was like she was drawing out of the top names, and the name that got drawn was an Amanda, but not me. And
Oh,
then I
man.
know, and she like filmed that, and then there was another one where it was like a poll for like the top four. I was one of the top four, and in this one, she gave away two seats, one for best video and one for best message. And then I was in the poll for best message, which I thought was really nice. And I did not win. I got runner up, and I was like campaigning my heart out. And on the one hand, it was kind of tough not to win, but the people that did leave comments and did support, many of whom I met through the seats that I gave away, granted it was on WPT's pocket, not my own. But I still put in a lot of time and energy and thinking to all these contests and people and making sure they were done fairly and in the spirit of making poker more friendly and wholesome. So and fun. Fun,
Exactly.
creative, right? All these things. I think people saw that I kind of put my heart and soul into the community building part of it. Even if I wasn't giving away my own money, I was certainly investing all of my time and energy into supporting people for these contests. And the comments where people just said such nice things. It was like absolutely incredible. And not only did I get moved, but the woman I was running against got moved. And she was like, I knew her kind of on the periphery. And I was actually texting her during the contest or DMing her on Twitter. And we're talking back and forth, meanwhile, all the numbers are shifting more and more in her favor, right? But we're messaging each other and kind of bonding over being, in this massive sweat in this contest. And she's, of course, reading all the comments for the people in my world as well. And there were so many people that just stepped up, but it was like, look, I didn't get the most votes, but like the ones I did get, I just felt like were people that felt like really knew me and like kind of quality there. And it got to her, and and she used her connections to phone a friend and use her one time. And she was like, I want Amanda to win a seat too. And she contacted a friend, and who became announced today was Scott Ball. And he said, I'll give her a seat.
That's amazing. Wow.
Yeah. We're both going, and we're going to take her to dinner, and we're going to do, an astrology reading for her. So it's exciting.
That's awesome. She does seem like a really good person too. I've watched her because she's been around with, cover or helping assist like Moneymaker with Poker Stars and now with ACR. So I've seen her. So she seems like a genuine person. So I'm so glad it worked out in the end that you both get to go. And yeah, now you got a friend out of it. So hopefully you guys both run really deep. So you mentioned astrology. You're going to do a reading. So back last year when you were doing those giveaways, you did a lot of Twitch streaming. And I heard you mention astrology quite often. So what's up with the astrology? What do you do there?
I do. I'm not as active as I should be, but I do have an astrology YouTube channel, Celeb Astrology. My video on why is Chris Evans still single according to astrology has like 50,000 views. My video on like Ben Affleck, should he be with Jennifer Garner, Jennifer Lopez? I'm not going to spoil that, but I was right. Has tens of thousands views. So and then I only have 1,000 subscribers, but like I had a couple viral hits. Is my point. And I have been like very rigorously studying astrology for a long time, kind of since starting in like late high school, early college. And, we can get into the weeds of it or not, but, I read books on it. I listen to podcasts. And if and I have a tutor that I've worked with, and I have an astrology course, and I am really, really, really into it. And it's really kind of changed how I navigate the world.
Wow. Okay. So do you think, is there any correlation between astrology and poker strategies? Have you ever used astrology at the poker table?
I haven't used astrology at the poker table. And if I do look, not all Geminis are the same. If I do a reading, I do it like specific to like your exact date, location, time of birth. But the reason why I like astrology, I don't do it for prediction stuff. I don't do any of that. I just do kind of like your birthday, what it means about you. And I think it's that interest, right? And wanting to kind of get in someone's head. wanting to figure out what drives someone, wanting to figure out what motivates someone. I think what's really, really valuable out of a poker table is just kind of learning a person's MO. It's not all about, is this a good bluff spot? It's like, is this person even here to bluff? Some people, that's not why they go and sit down at a poker table. They sit down to pass the time. And some people, that's why they're there. They want to be the big hero call. And it's like, do the big hero call. And it's just kind of, how do you figure out someone's context? What are they operating from? What are their underlying motivations and drives and desires? That's what I do in an astrology reading. And the more you can fine tune that for poker, I think the more it's an obvious advantage and skill.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what was that YouTube channel again? I'll check it out.
Celebstrology. My website, celebstrology.com. Basically, I do celebrity readings. And I'm like, should Brad Pitt and Jennifer Aniston be together?
That's awesome. All right. I got a few questions that from Twitter people asked. So Santi wanted to know, will you be playing the tag team with your father again?
In life, I'm sure I will. This year, I am happily in Canada, my husband. So I'm not going to be at the WSOP this year until the main event. It's a little hard to top, though. I got to say, my father and I, we took third place, and it's hard to beat. And it was kind of like, I think it was a specific moment in time, and having that, it was very, very, very unexpected. Near the end of day one, we had 3 big blinds.
Wow. End of day one.
Yeah, it was a terrible day one. And I remember my phone was about to die. We had like 1 hour left, and I was texting my dad and my husband, like, phone's about to die. We'll bust. I'll find you, in the cash game area. And then my phone does die. And my husband had the wherewithal to check the poker news updates. And I'm starting to chip up, and he like texts my dad, like, hey, she's still in it. She's winning hands on here. And we came into day 2 as a super duper short stack, even still. And I remember my dad and I, we were so pissed because we'd only booked, Vegas for we had 3 days. And the tag team day 2 started in the afternoon, at 2:00. And we're here with less than 20 big blinds. So we missed out all the daily tournaments, right? So we're like, we can't play any of the tournaments start 11 a.m. or noon. We're going to play this tag team, and we're probably going to be out in an hour. And, here's our Vegas trip thwarted. And wasn't this a silly idea playing the tag team? But instead, it was an absolutely amazing experience. And I can go more into it, or we can move on.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Can't imagine when you finish third and just hugging him and all that kind of stuff must have just been it would just sounds incredible.
Oh, doing it with my dad, this was the moment of a lifetime. And I'm not yet at a point in my life where I have kids, but I just couldn't even imagine what it's like, from his perspective. And there was one hand at the final table. It was just very standard. We won a flip. It was jacks versus ace king, and we turned the ace. And for me, it was my heart stopped, oh my gosh, right? I was holding my breath. It was amazing. And then I look at my dad, and he's doing this dorkiest dance ever. He's over the moon. And then we doubled, and just to but I think we had an extreme advantage because time and time again in that tournament, I heard people say, I would make this call if it were only my chips. I would do this if it was just me. So people, they didn't want to be the one to screw over their teammate, so they played a lot more conservatively. And I knew that I had my dad's blessing, and I knew that I had his backing in whatever I did, and I felt like that really gave me the ability and us the ability to play a stronger game. And as a matter of fact, the very, very, very first hand of the final table, I got us into a little situation, 3-betting king jack offsuit, and we were basically all in. He could put us all in on the river on this 3-street hand for our tournament life. We had a bluff catcher. It was but I was only able to make that call because I knew that my dad would support me either way.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that was an advantage. And then what was also pretty cool is there are some similarities between being a woman at a poker table and being an older person at a poker table. In both cases, the perception is a lot more conservative. It's a lot more passive, right? My dad says poker's really changed for him as he's gotten older. He said when he was, in his 20s, everyone thought he's this young, aggressive guy, so he would just play really tight. And then he said something happened where all of a sudden it stopped working. This like trapping thing, it was no bueno when he was 60, and it was like it just didn't work. And he just turned 67, I believe. And he said he had to completely alter his strategy. He had to completely get out of his comfort zone and flip the stereotype. And so when we played the tag team tournament at one point on day two, early on in day two, I tagged him in and I asked him how it's going. And he said, he said, I've won every hand in the past hour and I bluffed every one of them.
Wow. Amazing. That's awesome.
So cool, right?
Yeah.
All right. So I got another question for you. So this is from Santi as well. So any good ideas to get more girls into live tournaments?
Yeah, I have quite a few. One, I'll start with, we'll keep on the subject of tag team tournaments. I've been to a couple tag team events and it is shocking the percentage of women. The first one I went with my dad at Planet Hollywood was a solid probably 30% women, which anyone that plays poker knows is that's completely unheard of for any regular tournament. And I played a small one here in Calgary about a month ago, and I want to say it was 40 to 50% women.
Wow.
Which you just do not see in any other poker tournament. And I think there's a couple reasons why. One, it's social, and if you look at the way that women are marketed to in other industries, the social draw is a lot higher up on the list. That's why I started playing poker. I was in DC and, I had all these things going on in my life and I wanted something I could do on a Saturday night other than going to clubs and bars and all those things that other 23-year-olds were doing. I wasn't in it to make money. I was in it to have that, I'm a people person. So I think one, it's that. Two, you can split the buy-in. So women obviously tend to have less opportunities, so less experience to play poker. I never had any of my girlfriends invite me to a poker night. So it's probably, tag team tournaments at a lower entry buy-in because you're splitting it, tend to be a lot more accessible to women. Also, women can sometimes be more risk averse, so that's good as well. And you also, in a ladies event, you kind of need to know other women to get into a ladies event. But a tag team tournament, you just need to know a guy that plays poker. And there's a lot of those. So, one, I think tag team tournaments are great. Two, I think the environment that we play poker in really, really matters. And I think it gets overlooked. I started playing poker in DC because it was a brand new casino and it was gorgeous. And then I went to Los Angeles and I went to Hollywood Park and it's gross. Or at least the first games you see are the $40 games.
Yeah.
And it's the diviest, sketchiest game there is. And I had this thought, as into poker as I am, if this had been my first experience, I might have never played. I think we need to think of the poker industry or casino industry like a grocery, like the grocery store industry, where they put the pastries up front so you already have a good start, and you already walk in with a positive experience. And they're a lot more, they engineer the experience so it's more pleasant. And I don't think that all card rooms are coming from the perspective of how do we make this pleasant. I think they just put in tables and what's efficient. And I think for women, you kind of need to work on the ambiance a little more. And the final thing, I'm actually speaking with someone on a Twitter space, Sean McCormack, the poker boss. I was talking about this, and I'm speaking to him on Monday about different things we can do to get more women and beginners in the game. And I said the first place you can start is we need trophies for like the daily $120 tournament, where it's 60 people, give or take. You got to give them a trophy. It's cheap, but what it does is it normalizes poker. You see it on your mantelpiece.
Sure.
And sure, you and I know that that's not the same as winning a bracelet. But most people don't. Most people in the regular world, they see a trophy and that you won a poker tournament, even if it was like a Caesars Nightly, that took 2 or 3 hours. Like, my mission in poker is how do we make poker more mainstream, friendly, and wholesome? And I think it just really is putting ourselves in those spaces, and it's something to be proud of. I've gone to poker because I have this father who I've always looked up to, is happily married for 30 years, got kids and dogs and all these things. He's not like a cigar smoking shady character. For me, poker was, well, there was no stigma. So I think if we have things like a cute trophy, I think that will just make poker more normal and take it out of the shadows.
I love it. I love that idea. I love the trophies. Yeah, you want to bring something home and show it, and then your spouse or whoever is going to say, "Wow, wow, yeah, yeah, I love it. I love those ideas."
Your
So I hope,
spouse, your kids, your
yeah,
friends, that's what we need. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like the little things, like whether it's like some more posters in the casino or a trophy on the mantelpiece. It sounds silly and possibly stereotypical, but I think that's what a feminine touch really is.
I go to this home game, and they actually they have trophies, and they also take it's like my buddy at work. He's a bit older than me,
Yeah.
so he's like, "Hey, I know you play poker. Come." So I go there. It's like they have two tables. It's like everyone's in their 60s, but they have it's like so professional. They got the two tables. They have winners' photos up on the wall for everyone who's ever won, and then they keep points, and they got a year-end trophy, all this. But yeah, and and everyone brings some type of food dish or whatever. So like I go there, I'm like the youngest, but it's fun, and it's like it's actually pretty good. But I do like how they recognize, so you can go through and see. And there's this one lady, Arlene, and her photos up there so often. She just crushes. It's amazing.
Oh, go Arlene. That's
Yes.
awesome. That's another good idea. Yeah, the winners photos. I love the casinos that for their dailies post the winners pictures.
Yeah, exactly. And then if you're a place like the Win, they just have that one guy. He's name slips me
Jeremy
right now.
Beckers.
Yes, so his and he just keeps popping up, and I love how he did it with the 5-3 and just showing that it just made a name for himself. It's amazing. Love those ideas.
Did make a name for himself. Yeah.
So I got another one. Chris Robinson. He wants to know, what is better source of poker content: studying, talking to others to learn and improve, or joining a forum like Cards Chat, or finding a study group online. Probably all good, eh? What do you think?
Yeah, they're all. I was literally saying they're all good. Um, Depends where you're at in poker. Some of those things will be more important than others. For me, what made the difference, from barely knowing how to play to winning my first poker tournament, was I made 180 flashcards, and they were color coded with stickers. But it was like I just kind of needed to, and they were just on what cards to play and what positions pre-flop. I just kind of needed that study, and then after I had that foundation, and this is a really big if you can find people that are genuinely knowledgeable about poker, I think talking to people, I think that was a good option he included there. Talking to people that are knowledgeable. My husband and I, all of our dinner conversations start with, so I had King Jack. Right? It's like, whenever my dad's driving home from the casino, he calls my husband and I, he calls us the brain trust. We talk about hands. And if you don't have people in your life that have been in our experience in this game and know what they're doing and studying themselves. I really like the Bart Hansen Colin show on YouTube, where he basically does this with other people, and you can call in yourself. I've called him before, and he talks through hands, and it's like there are videos. They're 10 to 20 minutes long, and they're really, really good because you're basically having a conversation, or you're a fly on the wall in a conversation with Bart Hansen, and he really knows what he's doing. So he's talking through the hand, what should you do here? And you're like, yeah, but this guy's crazy. And Bart Hansen's like, I know, but you only have pocket eights, right? So you can listen to the conversation. So in lieu of having a husband that's played poker for over 10 years, I would listen to those videos.
Awesome. Okay, Bingo Buddy at Bingo Buddy. So this guy, he's another poker tourist. I follow him on Facebook, and he goes all over the world playing poker. This guy, he runs the Canada Poker Facebook group. A legend. He wanted to wish you good luck in the main event, and he put a nice picture on Twitter of you all at the WPT and the win. He wants to know, what do you think of the state of poker in Ontario and Alberta? You did mention Alberta a bit earlier. And will you be going back to the WPT in December at the win again?
Yeah, definitely, now that I work for WPT Global, we'll be back at the win. I think it was a beautiful event. I don't know if I'll play the 10K. It depends how the main event seat goes, right? We'll see how I do. But in terms of, there's a big difference between poker in Alberta versus Ontario, given the regulations. It's been very refreshing. Their attitude towards sports betting and poker and all these things where it's legal. It just feels progressive and mature to me, so I'm very impressed with it. And I just think that when you can have more people in the space, you can kind of have people that are more comfortable navigating the ins and outs. No, it's less of an extreme thing. It's not like you're either this super grinder or this super shady degenerate gambler. It's like you have a lot of people that will like casually place a bet on sports or casually go to Cowboys Casino or whatever. It's just more part of the environment. So I think there's more buffers, which I really like about the legal poker options in Ontario. In Alberta, excuse me. In Ontario, I think this is kind of a shock and a wake up call that, you know, everyone in the poker world thinks it's only a matter of time till online poker gets legalized. And I was kind of under that impression until Ontario took what I consider to be a major step backwards. And WPT, basically the time the site launched, WPT Global, was like a month apart from when Ontario closed the online poker player pool. And I wasn't working for them at the time and I wasn't involved in these conversations, but I can assume they expected the Ontario market to be part of their projections. And so it has a ripple effect. When you're trying to build out guarantees and build a website and prize pools, even if you don't live in Ontario, you need that player pool to keep the ecosystem alive.
For sure.
And one last thing on that note, with one region that you might not think is important, it is. People talk about how online poker got banned in the United States, right? Black Friday.
Yeah.
What people don't realize about that is 40% of all online poker traffic before in the United States was from California. 40%.
Wow.
So even if you didn't live in California, you sure as heck want those Californians in the online poker ecosystem because it's the rising tide lifts all sails.
Yeah, and there's a ton of people who used to be playing on GG and PokerStars and everybody in Ontario, and now they have to play on those locked-in sites. And I think live poker there struggles too, right? Like there's not as much tournaments, not as much casinos offering live poker in Ontario.
Well, I've played at Casino Niagara. I don't recall really any tournaments, but there was a time rank on a 1-3, which is, I think it's still in existence. I think that's pretty rare. So that's cool. But I think their casino, if I recall correctly, like closes at like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning or something like that.
Okay. Well, you don't have that problem in Alberta because there's a ton of poker in Alberta. And
yes.
Yeah, we are definitely a progressive province, so that's cool. Okay, last question for you. If you could go back and change the outcome of one hand that you lost in a big spot, what hand would it be?
Yes, there was a crazy hand. It was my third month playing poker, roughly third or fourth month, kind of really into poker. Maybe I was like 6 months in, like third month since tournaments, 6 months since like playing. And that we were down to the final 20 people in this tournament. It was a $300 tournament. There was 30 grand up top. And I was second in chips. And the 2 chip leaders and I had everyone covered by a mile. Like we were just so far ahead that the guy who was the chip leader, he proposed like a 20-way chop.
Wow.
Like, yeah. And it was like, which should tell you something about his risk tolerance, because that becomes relevant in this hand, right? So he's chip leader, and and now of course he wanted like, more of an ICM chop, but he wants to do a chop. Obviously, people say no. We get in this hand. He raises. I'm on the button with pocket nines, and I look at the guy in the big blind, and I could tell he is like getting antsy. He's ready to make a move. He was at my table prior. He's cuckoo bananas. And I just knew that if I called here, he's going to shove, and I'm going to have the best hand always. So I don't 3-bet my nines. I just call with the nines. And sure enough, the guy in the big blind goes all in. And for the record, he has 8-4 offsuit. Okay, so this was like a stone cold read.
Yeah.
All right. And the chip leader guy thinks about it, gets a count, calls. And then I rejam to ISO with my pocket nines. And the chip leader guy is like beside himself. And I'm thinking I'm good. and he wants like an exact count, and he's taking forever, and I'm thinking like maybe he doesn't want to flip with ace queen, you know. I'm at this point I'm thinking my nines are good. Someone actually like calls the clock on him. He is like taking so long. I'm sorry, I have to call. I have aces.
Oh my God. What?
I know, and I'm like, Jesus, right? But he wasn't like Hollywooding or trying to pull one over. It was just, you know, if we all had all, it was a $300 tournament. If we had done the chop, he would have gotten like 7,000 at the time or something like that. And so in his mind, he's thinking like 80% of the time I'm going to get $7,000 or more, and 20% of the time I'm going to get zero. And to be fair, I flopped a gut shot. 8-4 ended up winning the hand, by the way. But I lost. Right. And so that hand, I think, obviously I wish I could do it over again. It would have really given me a different start in my poker career. But at the same time, I think not being successful in that hand is what, I went through. I was way too big for my britches, and I was playing way too much poker. So I moved back to Los Angeles. And in doing so, I ended up meeting my husband.
Wow. Everything works out in the end.
Yeah, I ended up a winner.
I thought you were going to say he called with pocket eights and then, of course, the 8 in the window. But aces, what a nit roll.
Yeah, it was like, and I'm dead serious about this. I almost got someone to fold aces pre-flop. He's ahead. He just, it was just such a big spot. And I guess it's not the worst shove in the world, because that means he's definitely folding queens.
For sure. Man, so after that, I don't know if you stuck around, but he must have had just all the chips. Yeah, just everyone covered if you were both top two, right?
The worst thing? 40 minutes later, they did the chop. They did like I think they did a 10-way chop, like something like.
That's crazy.
Yeah, no, they did the chop.
If I'm ever playing online and I'm at a final table, I remember it doesn't matter if there's like 3 people left, 4 people left, and you bust. It's like as soon as you look away for a second, there's a chop done, and you're like, "Oh man," just like one hand
That's
later.
So true.
Yeah.
No, right. I've seen that when I played on GG now. Yeah.
Yeah, people. Yeah, it used to be like a lot harder to do chop. So back in the day, like on PokerStars and stuff. So if you wanted to do a chop, there was like you had to like hit like call, and like a moderator would come to the table, and they'd be like moderator or whatever has entered the chat. And you'd be like, yeah, we want to do a deal. And then they would propose some numbers, and everyone had to type, I agree in chat. It was, yeah. You actually, and before that even, you used to be able to call a moderator if someone was like being out of line at the table. So if someone was like typing bad stuff in chat, you would like call a moderator, and then moderator would come and ban that person's chat. So, I do like that better than just taking away everyone's chat like we were talking about earlier.
Oh, my husband got put in the penalty box chat, like on GG's, like he's calling people a dosser, which is like this like Irish like term and stuff. Like, it's like a never, like it's like it is silly, but like people were kind of sensitive, and I get it. And so then someone reported
him. Yeah, that'll do
and he got like his chat privileges revoked.
Yeah, that'll happen. All right, Amanda, thanks very much for doing this. I really appreciate it. Good luck in the main event. I hope you run really deep, and then definitely we'll get you back on after that, and we'll be pulling for you.
Thank you so much, Colin. This has been a blast and a half, and it's been great being in your neck of the woods.
Awesome. Yeah, hopefully we'll run into each other. There is, I just seen today, I don't know if you know this, but at Pier Edmonton in July, end of July, they just announced a series coming. So that'll be in my neck of woods in July. So
I would absolutely love to just tell the Canadian government to allow me to be there, past like mid-July.
Oh, yes, that's right. Yeah. Well, say hey to David, and hopefully we'll run into each other for sure.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks a lot. Take care. And now it's time for my tournament of the week. This week, as part of the Micro Festival series that's currently running on GG, they're having a special $5 Micro Global Millions with a $300,000 guarantee. How it works is you join a day one for $5, and then you play until 12% of the field remains, and you carry your chip stack over into the day two that will be held on June 11th. You can enter multiple day ones, but only your largest stack will be carried into day two. Day ones are running around the clock, so it doesn't matter where you live, you can hop in and try to make day two. Someone's going to win a 5-figure score for $5. Might as well be you. Good luck, and let me know if you go deep. All right, there's that damn violin again, so that means that's it for another episode of All In with Colin. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please do me a favor and hit that follow button, and also tell a friend to check out the show. I'll also put the links to Amanda's socials and to her book in the show notes if you want to check that out. And if you know any amateur players who make a deep run at the World Series of Poker this year, please get in touch and let me know. I'd love to have some of those people on the show. I'll be back soon with an all-new episode. Hey, how's it
Colin,
going?
how are you?
Good, how are you?
Oh my gosh. Right before this call, I saw a TikTok of this golden retriever that like the girl got when she was like 8 and lived to her wedding, and now I'm like bawling.
Oh my God,
Like,
hilarious. Sorry about that.
I'm
I
so
thought
emotional.
I thought I sent you the link, and then I realized I was copying and pasting and pasted the wrong thing to you. Sorry about that.
Oh, no worries, no worries. I gotta collect myself. Too many puppy stories.
TikTok can do that to you.
That's so. I love your poker den.
Oh, thank you. It's
Yeah.
the shared room. On the other side is where the kids grind their Fortnite and stuff. So I got to tell them, okay, everyone, it gets insane in this room, but what do you do, right?
Hilarious.